Great outside.
Yeah.
Are we going to do Auburn now, too?
I think we'll probably have something Wednesday.
You think we will? Okay.
Well, we're leaving. Oh, no. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Friday this week. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we could do something.
We'll reconvene Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, I guess let's start with Nichols then, right? The makeup game is 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, so we had 2 scheduled. This one was supposed to be at home due to the travel. I think we were going to Dallas or Arlington the next day, so it made it kind of impossible to go down there and travel the next day. So we just flipped the dates. It was kind of the easiest thing to do. So, yeah.
Just your thoughts, I guess, on taking the show to Thibodeau and what it means for programs around the state.
Yeah, a lot of respect for all of the programs here. I think we had 7 in the NCAA tournament last year. I think all of them were on our schedule. We are going down there. It's the only team we're playing twice this year. And, they've won the league 2 years in a row. Obviously, having Brent there is cool. Was on our staff last year. Yeah, it'll be good. I always like these games. I think they're good for our players, too. I remember being at Southeastern each of the last 2 years. Just kind of how the scheduling worked out. And it's not an environment like everybody gets. And in some ways, it's probably one of the better ones we'll play in all year. But baseball is important in Louisiana, and so I think it's cool that we pick at least 1 or 2 of these every year and do them.
Having day to kind of digest it now, just what did the weekend mean for this pitching staff, and just kind of getting that consistent performance from those 5 guys, just how unique is that to this day, modern age of college baseball or baseball in general?
Yeah, I thought we executed really well. I think you start Thursday with Cade. I think the story was twofold. He navigated that first inning, and the bases loaded 1 out, and he went strikeout. He'd thrown 30 pitches in that inning, though. And then I don't remember what inning we scored in, whether it was the second or third. And he just kind of got better as the game went along. And we had Zach ready to go literally in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and we probably would have made a change if there was a base runner. But to his credit, there was no base runners. And he was outstanding. And I thought that was a great performance. I think then going to Friday's game, I think Anthony was really good again, really good. Great to see. We have a lot of confidence in him and brought him here for a reason, and he's executing. I think he's just continuing to get better as he goes. And then I thought Kaysen would play well off of him, as he did the previous week. And he's a really good pitcher. And, again, executed at a high level. Didn't seem like much drama in that outing or that game once he came into the game. And then Sunday, I've been saying, and I've felt this since Texas, Chase is getting better as he goes. And I said that early in the year that I anticipated and expected that he would, and that's what's happening. Probably could have gone back out. I just felt like the exact spot we were in the order was right when I wanted to bring Zach into the game. And it worked out great. He had a 7-pitch inning. I had literally no traffic in the 6th, 7th, and the 8th, which was great because it allowed him, to still be strong in the 9th when, they were going to make a run. It's a good offense and good team, but he's just, again, he can execute at a high level. So I just kind of on the surface looked at, what they did to get to that performance, and, we have a lot of faith in those guys, and, they've been very good. Those 5 have been very good for us, and it was good.
How has Cade been recovering since that, the longest start of his career?
Yeah, I saw him yesterday. It was good. Lifted, played catch. Feels like normal. I think looking at the nature of the outing, again, you think he retired the last 12, and the pitch counts of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th were really low. So. And he's well conditioned. I feel like, much as I was just talking about with Chase, if you were taking one aspect of his pitching as he's developed, this year is, the durability is continuing to get better as the season goes along. Like, he's gotten better later in the game, kind of each weekend that he's gone out. And so I think that's been good. And he's very aware, and Coach Yeski is really good at adjusting. We adjusted a little bit last week leading into the week because of the previous week. We adjusted the previous week because we were going from the Friday to Thursday. So just on top of all of that, when you got a pitcher that has the ability but has the awareness and the intelligence of Cade, it's easy to kind of make those adjustments.
When you're saying adjusting throughout the week, do you mean from just like a physical preparation standpoint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Nate going to take any time this week?
They'll have a service for his dad. I don't think it is this week. I think it's in one of the coming weeks. And typical him, like, wanting to do it in a way, and his family wanting to do it in a way that's not really going to affect our team. I'm really proud of him. This has been going on for a while, and just has kept his head down and kept working and is always prepared. And I mean this sincerely, and I have a lot of history on the other side of the field with him and in the dugout with him. And it's like when you would win 2 out of 3, or I think in 2016 we swept Oregon State. You're going like, man, those mean more sometimes, because you know what's on the other side with Pat Casey and Nate in the other dugout calling pitches, and then to have the opportunity to get him back here. And really the only reason he wasn't here from the start was just timing, and there was a lot of dynamics to how all this went down. Like, I didn't have this job until I had this job, and he had another opportunity. But I'm really proud of him. Does a masterful performance given the circumstances on Thursday night, and he did a great job on Friday, obviously, with Anthony and Kaysen, and then with the conditions there just wasn't a lot of margin for error, but I've been with him enough to know what you're going to get over time, whether that's development of pitchers, pitch calling in the game, preparation for the game, and we put a lot into that as a staff. And I think it's not an accident. You're seeing guys get better, and there's a few more that are right on the cusp. They just didn't go in the game this weekend because those guys didn't give up anything. So he's doing a great job, and I have a very high opinion of him, and it's warranted. All you have to do is look how many pitching coaches have been in Omaha 5 or 6 times over the last 18 years. Been a part of a national championship, done it at 3 schools. Hopefully 4th. My hope is, we just keep adding to that for him at LSU.
You sense that the players wanted to win for him?
I don't think they knew. They didn't know during the game on Thursday night. They did not know. But, what I see with an office right next to me is those guys filing in there one at a time, and getting on the same page of what they need to do. And contextually, what he's great and where I think he separates himself is taking all of the stuff in this new and modern age of pitching, and then knowing how to filter it correctly with the psychological disposition of the pitcher that's there, and then communicate it in a way where we can actually have some lasting improvement. Again, sometimes it takes the game and the experience and a little bit of failure to get there. And I think what's remarkable in looking at a weekend like this weekend, and I've been saying this, it's sometimes you get lost in our talent. Is Cade Anderson's the only guy that threw a pitch in an SEC game last year that's on the pitching staff this year. And if you look at the scores around the league, you wouldn't think that's a really good recipe to have the early success that we have. And I think there's just a completeness to what he brings to the table, and a care level of competing and winning and helping guys be their best, and all of that. And we have good talent. I mean, we have really good talent, and so we've been able to accelerate it a little bit. But more tests are coming. More blows are coming, and you got to be able to keep navigating. And I trust him to help the guys do that.
How's he doing mentally and emotionally?
Good. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, we like I said, I think it wasn't just Thursday's game, but to be able to be in tune on Friday and Saturday the way that he was. And his dad was a great man. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously more from our time at Arizona, obviously got to know him a little bit, and knowing his background, so to sort of speak, and he was a great pitcher himself, and Nate was all of that. Like he's doing good though.
If Nate's unavailable for a game, who would call the pitches?
I don't think we're going to end up there
Okay.
ever, and I would. There would be factors that go into that. The scenario, we got rid of that dumb ejection rule in the SEC, so where you get suspended if there's a second one, which is a good thing for probably me, more of all people. So that's good. We have contingency plans. I think if you saw our collective effort as a staff to prepare for one game, that wouldn't really even be an issue. The difference is he's really good at it. He's the best at it when you have that much experience. But I would feel like we would be okay.
When you look at kind of how rarely you guys had to go to the bullpen, how important is a game like tomorrow just to kind of get some guys some work and kind of really dive deeper into the bullpen, or even think about that?
Yeah, it's a road game that's super important to our opponent, so it's going to be challenging. And so you start with the context of winning the game. That's where you start with, is the context of winning the game, as always. And I never want that not to be the thought. Again, how you set the lineup. What we want to do is improve our team while we're winning or losing. My goal is to take any sort of adversity or negative thing and turn it into a net positive for our team. But you can still do that in winning. And, I'll use, I think it was Thursday night's game as an example. There was a couple at bats in the game offensively. We only won 2-0, and it was tough conditions, and we were facing the best pitcher in the country. But if 2 at bats were a little bit better, it could have been like a 5-0 game. So we start there, even in the context of winning, and then get into the next thing. And so, to your point, you want to set the team up to win and improve as we do it. And to do that, getting some guys in the right spots for them is helpful and is needed. And you never complain about winning any game at all, but there's more guys that can contribute than 5. Obviously, that's just the way this weekend worked out. So
You're not going that far, but you knew taking this game you weren't going to have a home game for 2 weeks, right? So is that kind of your relationship with the coach and wanting to kind of do something nice for them?
Yeah, well, really, we had the previous one scheduled there and this one scheduled here. Always looking at what's best for the team. Preferably, and it's typically how I've set it up the last couple of years, is I don't want to travel midweek during league. I don't want to do that. However, at the outset of the season, I felt like we needed to play to figure out improving and getting better. And so instead of losing the game, flipping them made the best sense. Then we have the one benefit of where we did play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I felt okay about that. And then if we did our job, you would get a boost, RPI-wise, by playing 7 in a row on the road. And we've obviously got off to a good start with that this weekend. It's another opportunity, in that regard, which that really matters. And, luckily, the one positive about the league being good all the time is you don't have to concern yourself with that. But if you get one boost or one bump, the road really helps you with that. Now, it's really tricky at LSU because this environment thing is so awesome, to play in. We don't get a ton of RPI value by playing 36 home games. And so, I think having this one is good. Now, we structured the schedule a little different where we'll get home a little later. So Wednesday will be the off day for the players this week, So there's some tweaking, but with this team, no worries. It doesn't matter if we're playing at 1 o'clock in the morning or it's 29 degrees outside or it's a 5-game week because of a rain out. They're really good at showing up.
What is it that they're doing well right now that you like outside of the pitching? Is it just that approach that you speak of?
Yeah, no matter what's going on, the preparation and the readiness is unaffected. My man will tell you, it was freezing on Saturday, and we're out there for batting practice, after already winning the first two, and you go like, okay, this could be a little bit tricky. Well, the first thought when I walk into the park and you feel the wind, it's like, okay, 4 runs is going to win the game today. That was the first. If we can get to 4, we're going to win. That was my first thought. The second one is like, man, I hope these guys don't just like go through the motions and want to get out of here as fast as you can, because it was like physically uncomfortable. I mean, they're running around or in BP and smiling and laughing and hitting line drives, and they're still executing their bunts and working on defense. I was like, we'll be fine. We're going to be fine today. And so whether it's that, the Mississippi State thing, 9:30 p.m. first pitch, 4.5-hour game. It's 1 a.m. I mean, like, just unaffected. And you love to see that. They love playing together. They love competing. And, like, any external circumstance isn't swaying that in a wrong direction.
How's Gavin? Are we getting close?
Need to see. There's benchmarks every day, and he has to hit the benchmarks to go to the next step, and that's been a little bit of why maybe it's been here and it turns into this. Like, it's not like I want to pitch him badly, but like I'm not going to put him in a position where we go out one time and go backwards, especially now at this point in the season. So we have to really monitor that. I can't answer that today because today and tomorrow matter in that process.
There's no consideration of redshirting him this season, right?
We are trying to get him back this season. If it comes to a point where that's what we need to look at, then we'll do that. And there's a balance of doing right by the player, doing what's best for the program. It's just like there's like actual like benchmarks that have to be hit. And, we didn't hit it last week. So we kind of restart. And I am very hopeful that we will be able to use him this weekend. I'm not going to be able to answer that probably until Thursday.
Can you talk
He did
about-
travel. He was with us last weekend. And, is in the dugout. He's been great in the dugout. He's a baseball guy and has been through the wars and the scars. So he actually stands right down there kind of next to me. And it adds a lot of value, in that regard. So I've been proud of him for staying engaged that way.
Just Luis to catch all 27 innings this weekend,
Yeah.
and then also to back it up with a really strong weekend at the plate. Just what have you seen from him in terms of just how he's only seemed to get better at this point in the year?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I think if you came up with 5 factors of why the team is where it is right now, he's in those 5. And it's defensive contribution first, and then offensive contribution. I would assume he's probably the top hitting catcher in the league right now, just in terms of league performance. And I don't know who else is out there, but like we're winning largely because of he's catching great, and then in the 7 hole you're getting huge hit after huge hit after huge hit against the best pitching. I knew he would be able to handle this caliber of pitching in terms of swinging the bat. It was a quick evaluation when we got him, but it was a thorough one. And then the feel for baseball led me to believe, like with Josh Jordan's coaching and time and experience, we could get him to where he was going to be a contributor. I didn't know if that was going to be like for sure the everyday starter, catch 27 innings on an SEC weekend. But he's been able to do that. And the other part of that is like him and Cade have worked really well together. Like Cade has improved a lot because of Luis. Like this dude is Hall of Fame. Like I'm glad you brought him up because like I feel like maybe he hasn't been talked about enough in terms of the success of this team.
Danny kind of the same way when you're
Oh, yeah.
stair step.
100%. He was a little more well known, which is crazy because Luis had an unbelievable season last year. But when Danny decided to go in the portal, that was like, okay, this is probably the guy we have to get. If you want to follow the previous seasons of Tommy White, Skeens, Luke Holman, Danny was that guy. And my thing about him is the tools are really good. He can hit, he has power, he can defend. He's defended unbelievably well. Turns to double play, instinctual runner on the bases. But for him, the separator is how he plays. Not the performance, but how he attacks baseball with those tools makes him a better player. Like, he'll be a major league player because of that. Like, every minor league manager is going to go like, this is the guy that you need to promote. If he continues in pro baseball to play the way that he's chosen to play, in this couple of years at Utah Valley and here at LSU. So, and adds a lot to our team that way. And there's a competitive element and dynamic that, we really needed. And when one of your most important players is in tune with winning and competing and lifting people up, and it's not necessarily like a vocal per se leader. He speaks well at the right time, but it's the how he plays part is the separator.
How have you seen Sam Dutton change his pitcher since going off to Auburn, and since you guys are probably going to face him on Friday?
Haven't looked at it yet, to be honest. He's a great kid, national champion, pitched in Omaha, in that Florida game, which obviously ended up being important to just kind of preserve everybody else. But, he's a good kid. I'll never have a problem with anything about Sam Dutton. I mean, I started him in 2 regional final games here, so, yeah, he's. I'm happy to see I know he's having success. I haven't watched anything at this point in time to be able to answer that correctly. I will, for sure.
We talk about Derek so much, but just what he's doing at the level, the time that he's doing it. I guess can you kind of just throw a little bit at him, just the consistency with which he's shown up?
Yeah, he's a great player. I knew he would be a great player. I think there's a thing relative to talent and skill that is different. He has talent. He's incredibly talented. He just has skill. He's had the right baseball background. Brother, really good player. Dad, good baseball guy. Best mom in the world type thing. Hardworking, very blue collar. Played in the best high school league in the country, Trinity League in Southern California. The most talent is in that league of any league in the country. Good high school program at Orange Lutheran. And I think the desire to continually be better than he is, no matter what he does, it's that special trait in really good players. It's like, we literally have a conversation or a text message every day about what he's going to do better. And I'll be like, in my mind, I'll like, right on, here's my thoughts on this. But I'm going like, man, that's pretty unique, given that, he'd be disappointed in the weekend, and he had 3 of the biggest hits of the weekend, and all extra base hits, and played phenomenal defense, which was a big deal. You cannot, if you made a mistake in the outfield this weekend, like, it would have cost you a game. And but that's just an example of like, you got a huge hit in one of the games, and like, this is what I see, this is what I'm going to do, and then he ends up getting the hit that ultimately decided the game on Saturday. And you love to see that. I don't want to say never satisfied, but always looking for that next click. And, whether that was Paul, Dylan, Luke Holman, kind of reminds me of that. Like, your best guys always seem to have that.
What goes into being a good 2-out hitting team? I think 11 of the 15 runs y'all scored came with 2 outs.
Another great point. Yeah, that's
I can watch from home and do my research.
well. There's that video on the internet of Augie Garrido that he's ripping the team. I'm sure you guys have seen that at some point, right? Where he's talking about getting beat at every part of this thing, and he starts. I think the first thing is infield play, and he says 2-out hitting. Like, we call 2-out hits goldens. Like, they're golden. Like, you get a 2-out hit with a runner in scoring position, it's called a golden, because they're golden. That came from Jim Leland, the Hall of Fame manager, but we stole that, and that's what we call them. And they, I think it starts with not trying to do too much. Our saying is hard, not far. And the best hitters that pile up the best seasons always get 1 RBI when there's 1 RBI to get. Sometimes there's not more than 1 RBI to get, and you have to stay with me on this of like, there's a guy on base, so you could technically hit a 2-run homer, but with 2 outs and a man on second and an open base, you might not get a pitch that you can hit a 2-run homer. So that means there's only one RBI to get. So your discipline and your approach, the best hitters can get one. And Jared Jones is the best in the country at that right now. And that was a huge hit on Thursday. I mean, you're going Kate Anderson and Witherspoon, and it's like this game's going to be 3-2, 2-1, 2-0. And so him and I think Derek got the other one. One RBI when there's one to get. Hard not far. 2 out hits are golden.
Just a lot of talk about the portal these days, obviously. You're over 30 games in. Does it feel the same as when you built teams with strictly high school players for 3 or 4 years? I mean, I talk about,
Yeah.
are they in it, selfishness sometimes
Yeah.
and whatnot? You feel like in this new era they're all bought in, just like
This
with-
team is a 1,000% emphatic yes. Our theme for the year is tough and together, and team over me, and they are 1,000% that. And it's really impressive. I think it speaks to the maturity and having the right guys on the bus. And, you could easily, just talking in the portal, can't get more impact than you're getting out of Zach Cowan, Luis Hernandez, Danny Dickinson, Chris Stanfield. And I'm probably missing somebody that I'm not trying to miss, just to be real clear. But the people that they are, their appreciativeness for being at LSU in this program, guys accepting their role. I'll give you another one. He hasn't played, Eddie Yaman. He in the dugout, and I'm not talking about just supporting the team, but being in tune with things in the game. He's helped us. And this guy was an all-conference player last year. So that the people that those guys are lifting us as much as how good of players that we added, their on-the-field contributions. The high school guys, could go anywhere in the country, and play, including in our league, and chose to come here. And, there's Derek, there's Kaysen, Cade's playing a lot, I think, for a freshman in the league. Schmidt is pitching a lot. Rizzi, we're putting him in games that matter because they're so talented. But, a guy like Rizzi may be pitching on Saturday at a school in the Big East, which is a really good baseball conference with UConn, Creighton, St. John's, up in the area that he's from, but chose to come here. How they've handled it is great. And then you got guys that were on a team that won 43 games, played in a regional final, that had big roles, that don't have the same roles this year and are handling that like men. I'm really proud of that. There are massive challenges. I mean, I stood up here probably in front of you guys and say, hey, man, there's a little bit of a theme now. You build your team 1 year at a time. And that's not who I've been, but I have to adapt to do the best job that I can for LSU. But all the credit goes to the players. Jacob Myers. I mean, he's really good. And he's pitched, has 7 or 8, 9 appearances, whatever it is. And when he goes in, we think he's going to strike everybody out. I think he's given up 1 hit, you know what I mean? But he was pitching on a Friday. So, but he's one of the best teammates in the world, and a guy that we want to continue to push forward and help our team accelerate to get to its best team. But how they are together, they deserve all the credit for that. I do think it's uncommon, but, their consistency and performance has been really good, and I definitely think that's a factor.
Your baseball players are going to be more likely to be that way than other sports in college?
I can't answer that. Without,
Backgrounds.
I don't think at my height I'd be a very good beach volleyball coach. So I don't know the transfer portal dynamic.
Knowing you and how aggressive you are in the portal, though, how do you evaluate that? Because from day one, all the players talked about right guys on the bus and the job that you guys did. I mean, you want that talent, but is there a metric that you use to evaluate if this guy's going to be a good team?
I think you can be as diligent as you can. You can be as thorough as you can. I think, your messaging's great, but it's only as good as the context that the players receive the message in. And that goes in recruiting as well. I would just say I'm more comfortable today walking away from the talented player that's the wrong player than I've ever been. And not that means anything or there's any messaging. And it's hard in the portal because you have to make decisions quickly. Some of these recruitments go really fast. and we try to be out ahead of it. I'll give you, like with a guy like Zach Cowan, it was easy. Like, we'd done the work to prepare for him in the game. He went in the portal, and you just watch how he pitches, and there was no question this guy's the right guy. Like, talent, skill set, but to be as good as he is, you knew that that was set up correctly. And we were fortunate in that regard. With Luis, we really needed two elements of his game. Little bit of a roll of the dice. Man, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world just because of the person that he is. I mean, our pitchers are better because he's back there behind the plate. So to say we have some Wonderlic test from the NFL draft rubric that means no, that's not true. But it is important. And it's going to be more important as the roster shrinks to 34 players next year. Like, there is no margin, for error, because every spot on the roster has to contribute on and off the field to have the team we want to have, or the program we want to have. So we hit it well with this group. And yeah.
The existing roster helped soften those edges too, like Bear Jones.
Yes. Well, again, with only 12, they had to be the right 12. And you have to add value, and again, add value in terms of who you are as a player. And those guys all do that, but then are we better because you are here with something that takes no talent? So a guy like Jared, I'll use that as an example since you did, has been here for a national championship, been here for another successful season that we had to really grind through to make it a successful season, and saw the differences in those two, what was here and what was lacking in terms of controllable thing, and made a concerted effort to do that. And so that's a positive example of that. Cade Anderson, young in terms of only a year and a half into college baseball, saw some good and saw some bad, and has really tried to bring all the good from his experience last year. And so those guys deserve a lot of credit. All of those guys that are returning, but those are two examples of that.
Maybe a couple more.
Of the 12, how many did you establish a relationship with early, like in the high school process, or not many, or like transfer portal guys? Like I knew him.
That came in.
Yeah. How many?
I feel like this was kind of a year where it was pretty straight up. It wasn't like anything prior. Like, obviously the Arizona guys, I mean, I coached them. I coached Riley, I coached Jacob, Coach Mack, Bryce Collins, but this felt pretty straight up. Like Chris Stanfield, I just liked Chris Stanfield as a player. I mean, regardless of what the stat sheet said, I just liked him. And when he went in the portal, it's like, let's try to get him because we like him. And then again, like Luis, I hit the jackpot. I think I made this comment. If you have a problem with Chris Stanfield, you're the problem. Like, that's the type of kid he is. I mean, these things continue to get tested, but there's peace of mind in knowing what the response is going to be to adversity, success, failure, whether that's lose a game in the postseason, you're going to show up the next game with the right mental attitude. Whether it's, have a tough series, they're going to show up at practice on Monday and be ready for the Tuesday game. Whether it's sweep a series on the road, no complacency, back to work. And that's a good feeling.
In terms of accepting roles and team chemistry and a lot of the stuff that we would just talk about, do you feel like this team is, handling that stuff better than last year's team?
I have a lot of admiration for how these guys are going about their business. I'm not going to say anything negative about anything that happened before, because those guys were very resilient and took a situation that was very difficult, coming off a year where, in my opinion, a top 5 team of all time in college baseball, not LSU, of all time, of all the teams that have ever played college baseball, and then had 13 guys drafted, like the most unbelievable human beings, walk out the door that are already playing in the big leagues, and then deal with an expectation on them that's probably not fair when all of that walks out, but that's just the way that it is, and that's okay. And then play probably the toughest schedule that they could possibly play, get punched in the mouth and the gut, bloodied, and then stay with it, and then set the foundation for what this is now. I would be dumb to say anything negative about them, but I love how these guys are going about their business.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
Sir.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
y'all.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you.